When you think of Kia, what comes to mind? Value, affordability, a no-frills, happy-go-lucky brand, right? Well, all that changes with this. This is the all-new Kia Sorento. And I must say, it looks like $1 million. Well, that's because this specific model is almost $1 million. From a styling perspective, this new Kia Sorento really looks the business. I specifically like the front end and how aggressive it looks. It's almost as if these Asian brands are trying to irritate the Germans, and I absolutely love it. My favorite part is the back of the vehicle. And as we mentioned, this car will cost you just under R1 million. And where you want to see R1 million is on the inside. So let's jump in there. So, R1 million? I would say yes. I mean, the interior of this car is of a very high quality. Everything you touch feels good. It's soft, it's well built. From the metal bits to the piano black bits, the only little criticism I have is how this little section feels here. It looks good, but when you feel it, it does feel a tad bit cheap. Overall, I must say that this car is really fantastic on the inside. It really looks the part. They've designed this with thought and every bit looks interesting. Tech-wise, I have got a touchscreen infotainment system that gives me Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, pretty much standard across the board in this range, and I'm very happy to report that this works very nicely. I've also got heated and cooled seats because this is the top of the range model. And as well, I have got a little knob here which allows me to change the different modes of the vehicle. And I must say, Kia has really given us our money's worth when it comes to this vehicle. You know what I love? Is when a manufacturer really thinks about the people who are sitting in the back seat. And Kia really thought about everybody here because look at this, proper fixed cup holder. Got a little blind over here. I've got legroom for days, which is obviously adjustable if I do that. And the fact that this car is a 7-seater and I've still got decent legroom like this tells you that this wheelbase has been lengthened, which it has because this car's longer, it's wider, and it's bigger. Another thing that I do really like is the fact that you don't have to fight your fellow backseat occupant for a charging port, as I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 USBs. So if everybody wants to charge, they can do exactly that without fighting with anybody, which means more peace in the car for long road trips. See, it all makes sense. The problem with your vehicle being nearly R1 million is that consumers will automatically expect an elevated driving experience. And I'm happy to tell you that this Kia does give you that. There's a certain feeling of gliding on the road because this car has been set up in such a pliable way. It really feels quite good on the road despite there being bumps and crevices. This car really soaks it up in a luxurious manner. It's crazy to think that cars like this compete with the likes of a Toyota Fortuner and a Ford Everest, and those cars feel quite utilitarian on the road. That's because those use ladder frame chassis, whereas this is more of a unibody construction, so it feels much more like a luxurious car as opposed to something that can really go window bashing. That being said, if you do want to do some hectic stuff, you do have the various drive modes, and because this is the top of the range model, I do have 4x4, which means I can actually do some light off-roading and even some more serious off-roading should the occasion arise. All the models use a 2.2 diesel engine, by the way, that produces 148 kilowatts and 440 newton meters. And because I've got an 8-speed DCT gearbox, I've got tons of ratios to choose from, and the car never feels like it's out of power. It feels quite low to the ground, which is quite strange, especially considering who it competes with. But as a result of that, from a driving perspective, you do feel like you've got more control because you feel like you're sitting lower, and when you turn corners, there's not a lot of body roll. Overall, I am very impressed by how the Sorento drives. It really does give you a luxurious driving experience. The question that we have to all ask ourselves though is it worth R1,000,000? Now for me, if you're the kind of consumer that is adamant at buying a new car, then this car makes sense because most vehicle prices have gone completely berserk, and most luxurious vehicles, especially SUVs, are going to be over R1,000,000. So if you're in that financial position, this car can give you great value. But if you're the kind of person that wants to be a bit more savvy with your money and perhaps are looking at a demo or a used vehicle, I think it's going to get quite tricky because in the used market, for R1,000,000, you can get yourself a whole lot of SUV.